Welcome back. I'm so excited. It is full court press and transition with Coach Q, and I got my main guy, Eryc Pittman from JSU, with us this evening. Man, how you been? His bio, his bio is gonna be on the information. We about to jump right on into this. We're gonna get all our 30 minutes worth of this. I will say this is one of the up and coming young assistant coaches in the country. And I'm saying that because that's who he is. That's what he's about. And I'm excited to have him on the show. E, how you doing? And how you been, man?
Man, I've been great, just trying to make sure everything's going the way we need it to go, man. Staying busy, keeping these kids engaged currently and my future kids, keeping them engaged. And just this is the most important time right now to let everyone that you're trying to bring a part of your program know that it's about family first. As everybody's distance from each other, letting them know family first is really important right now. Letting them know they're wanted, letting them know that they're wanted, they're needed, and they're appreciated.
Awesome. Well, I know you'll get that figured out, and they'll feel that from you for sure. So we're talking about family. Let's talk about you. Where did all this come from? Where did E come from? Who's the essence of E? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I am a reincarnation of a blend of my mother and father, man.
Okay.
Akron, Ohio, very humble beginnings out of Akron, Ohio. My dad was a self-made man, had his own landscaping company, and did a lot with the community out there, coached high school, coached AAU and things of that nature. My mother was regional director for at the time it was called the MRDD, but now developmental disabilities.
Okay.
So she was the one traveling around like all the time and taking me in the car with her, man, running to Michigan, running back to all the cities in Ohio, over to West Virginia, all these different places dealing with people with developmental disabilities. And I guess that gave me my nature of, like we said, family first, just watching how both of them immerse themselves in the community. Because it's a selfless job sometimes, immerse yourself in the community and making sure you could be the backbone and be the answer to a lot of people's problems, even when they don't even know they have a problem. So that's where I come from, which I guess you could say I've been a coach my whole life, man, from helping my mom out with, somebody with Down syndrome. Or my first job was working at a group home at night in high school. So, cooking dinner for them, making sure they get to sleep, taking care of people that need that help.
Yeah.
It led into coaching because my dad put the ball in the house.
Okay.
And my family's a football family. As people who know me know I'm a Buckeye through and through. I'm an Ohio guy, Ohio State guy, and a lot of my family members play football there, including my father. So, we're a football family, and for some reason, basketball is what I fell in love with.
So is it you the only child out of that?
Yeah. So this is what gets me into women's basketball coaching. A lot of people have asked me this, so I'm gonna say it here. I have 6 sisters, and I'm the only guy.
Really?
6 sisters, man, and I'm smack dead in the middle, which is why you see the calmness coming.
Gotcha.
Older, 3 younger.
Gotcha. So, man, I knew you had siblings, but I didn't know you had 6 sisters. I don't ever think we've ever talked about the 6 sister piece of it.
Yeah, man, 6 sisters. You know me, I keep it low key with what I do and what I give out. But 6 sisters, man. That's where my passion comes from, and for ladies, for women, me and my friend, we started a little organization when I first got to college called Ladies First.
Okay.
Back in Akron, Ohio. So it's still going on, 501c3 nonprofit organization. I encourage everybody to pay attention. I'm more of a consultant now for him now that I coach college basketball. But our mission for that was, we were looking at the generation. We always talk about, what's going on with these kids in the generation? What's going on with these kids? So our idea, it was jokingly, but it blossomed into something amazing 10 years later now. But our idea was that the best way to change these guys is to make sure that girls have high expectations and high standards for themselves. And that's what led us down there. And part of it was because we both had sisters.
Gotcha.
And then women's basketball came right after that. People see me in the travel ball scene, the high school scene. A couple people found out about me, and they grabbed me from the men's side and brought me on over here.
Okay. Now, so with that, you go from the men's side of coaching. How long were you on the men's side?
3 years total. My first 2 years was a GA over at Eastern Kentucky with Coach
Okay.
Newton, who's at Fordham now. My
Mm-hmm.
first assistant coaching job was on the women's side at Belmont Abbey.
Gotcha.
Nathan Williams over in Belmont, North Carolina, right outside Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
From there, I spent 1 year there. From there, I went back to the men's side to an NAI school called Bruton Parker College in Georgia.
Yeah, in Atlanta. Mm-hmm.
Right after that, boom, back to the women's side where I belong. And I've been here at JSU now for 5 years.
So what brought you when you say where you belong? What makes it feel that you belong on the women's side? What is it about the women's side that's different from the men for you as a male?
I guess what's different for me is I always grew up coaching women, with my father and his AAU program, my little sisters, when them playing, their friends. When I was training kids, it was I always had more girls than guys I would end up training. So it was just a natural fit. I guess it just comes from, being around the women's game so much. It wasn't anything I planned for. It was like, oh, yeah, I just want to coach. And the opportunity it seems like the opportunity for me just keeps jumping back to the women's side. And to be honest, I mean, that's where I started at. And that's where I should finish. I mean, that's just been a part of me. And like I said, you add in those 6 sisters, man.
So what are your 6 sisters, out of the 6, who had the biggest profound effect on you out of the 6?
Probably my sister Erica, man. Me and her share the same initials. But Erica, she played high school basketball back in Akron, Ohio. Was pretty good. Had a couple opportunities to go to college. Ended up getting pregnant, so didn't play in college, and just started her foundation. But she was like that. Me and her are 13 years apart, so she was that rock for me, man. She was my sister, so she wasn't a second mom, but she took care of me more than anything else, because my mom traveled a lot and I couldn't always go with her. My older sister, she was in college, had a child, so she was the house that I was at. A lot of my middle school and high school upbringing was watching her.
Mm-hmm.
She had probably the most profound one. My business acumen probably comes from my sister Lavina. She runs a salon.
Okay.
That was her first job, first business, and she's been killing it in Akron, Ohio, Cleveland area. Like most people, low-key models, or most of the girls, they all know my sister Vina. She has a salon. She runs it. It's been doing great. Even in these times, she's still keeping her things stacked. And that business acumen, always hustling and going. I mean, yeah, mom and dad, but Vina, because she just went out on her own after high school, never went to college or nothing. Right after high school, jumped right into it, and they had a salon probably like 17 years now.
Wow. That I tell people all the time, trade ain't no joke. Learn a trade and you'll work for the rest of your life. And most of those you'll work as an entrepreneur in the trade. So, and I'm gonna go back. Tell me a little bit about your mother and father. Like what influences did they have that brought this? Because obviously you've been very successful. Your family has, even through some bumps early through the road. Success. What was the foundation that your mom and dad gave you guys?
So it was self-working. My mother and father were first-generation college people. My mother has a master's. My dad just only has an associate's. My mom got pregnant with one of my sisters, and he got out of college and encouraged her to stay in it because he wanted to work for the family back in the 70s. So he stopped playing football at Ohio State and went right into it.
Oh wow!
And, went back. He got his associates, obviously, but then he went back and got his bachelor's eventually. And he worked at Goodrich Rubber Company for a minute, and then right after that, when all the rubber companies started leaving and going down south, that's when he started his own landscaping company, and he started his landscaping company in, I think, like 1988, and he's been doing it ever since. So of course, just like any business, my younger life, he struggled. But by the time I was Eryc Pittman and people knew who I was and not just my nickname, who I'm never going to share. By the time people knew who Eryc Pittman was in Akron, Ohio, he was fine. His business was booming. He was getting state contracts. I remember waking up 6 a.m. on those Saturday mornings, man, hitting the devil strip with the tractors. Everybody's speeding by on the highway. I'm out there 12, 13 years old, getting my first little money, running up and down the highway behind him on them tractors and cutting grass and stuff. doing residential properties and things of that nature. And then from there, got to go get our workout in, because he was always like, no, you're going to have to work. You got to outwork everybody. So, and then from there, whatever he was doing in the community, helping out. If we was going to a shelter, we was going to help my mom at, one of the group homes, or checking on people. Like that was our day. We would just go, 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 go. And that foundation just stayed in me, which is why I'm always go, 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 go. And me and you always laugh about it. I'm always on the move, always thinking of stuff. I guess that foundation taught me how to multitask at a young age, because it was like, no, you got to have your day planned and learn how to prioritize it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. And it's a gift, because a lot of people don't understand that. And I think the younger generation, you're going to be, and this is why I wanted you on, because you prove that there is hope for us older people thinking, oh man, the young, they don't know it. Yeah, there are, and I tell people, man, there are some that do know. You just got to cultivate it. You gotta go out and find them and talk to them. You can't go walking by just assuming that they're not worth it. So at the end of the day, I appreciate who you are. So let's go down the journey of, you're now, you're going into your 5th year at JSU, correct?
Next year will be my 6th. Next year will be my 6th. Just finished my 5th.
Going into your 6th year, ending your 5th, going into your 6th. Tell me about your journey here. You work for a guy that I know really well, Coach P, really good guy, really earnest about what he wants from his kids, from his people. Seems I've never worked for him, but seems really loyal, because he's had people stay with him, and that's really odd and not normal in this business. So your journey at JSU, take me through that from your first year to now. You have grown tremendously. What are some of the things that you've learned on this journey that has allowed you to be successful, but then also some of the bumps that taught you how to kind of, go back to your growing up and bring some of that stuff out of you that you've used at JSU?
Yeah, man. So going back to my first year, so I guess I could start with like how I even met Coach Beaker. It's kind of funny. I met him at my first women's Final Four, which was 2014 Nashville. And I met him in passing just because I knew his assistant at the time, Allie Heller, who just left Eastern Carolina. Met him through passing. We talked for a minute. We had a nice little conversation. Talked to him a little bit later. He talked to my head coach at the time, Jason Williams, because Jason was literally at Jacksonville State before Rick got there, like literally the year before. 2 staffs literally just crossed up. So Rick was telling him about different things at Jacksonville, different things that Jacksonville State was trying to produce and trying to build into. Jason was telling him his experience and how to maneuver through things. Introduced us. Nothing was that. Let's fast forward 2 years later. He's looking for an assistant. Allie reaches out to me and asked me would I be interested in coming to the women's side, because she thought I was still at Belmont Abbey. She had forgot that I had left. And so Rick reached out to Jason about actually another guy that people in his circle had kind of gave him. And Jason, thank God, that's my brother, another brother of mine. He said my name. He said, if you like this guy, you need to call Eryc. So then Rick called me before Jason even got a chance to text me. When Rick got off the phone with Jason and called me, and he was driving from a tournament, I think, because it was like in July, because Allie had left late. And we just had a probably 30-minute conversation. He let me know, I'll let you know. Can't really promise anything. I just wanted to try to get to know you a little better. I know we haven't talked in like 2 years. That went like there. Then he knew Allie was interviewing. Didn't hear from him for forever. Went about my business, coaching guys, trying to get my team together. Then August came, like midway through August. My kids are back in school midway through August. Late August, actually. Mm-hmm. He calls me in, says, a couple people wasn't for sure. Would you be interested? So we talked a little bit more, then I got here. So I started here in September while the season was going on. I had to ingratiate myself quickly. So that first year, the bumps and bruises and the learning experience I had to learn was, not coming in, because everywhere I've been before that, I felt like I had a voice. Mm-hmm. Like I just come in because I was there. They knew me. Coach Newbauer, he knew me already, and even though I was a GA, he gave me a lot of prowess because I wanted to be a coach. Jason, when I came to Jason, it was me and Jason. So we
Mm-hmm.
had to, build from the ground up. And then Audrey came after, and we were just building from the ground up. So I had a big voice because it was, Jason's first head coaching job, and this is my first assistant job. So very ambitious and going over all type of tactics. And I matter. Let's do this, let's do that.
Mm-hmm.
So my first year here was like just trying to join in. Coach Petrie had his other assistants for 2 years already. Coach Wise been with him for like 13, 14 years at the time.
Right.
Coach Wormley had been a head coach for like 11 years before that, and she was there with 2 years. So I was not only a rookie with them, my first coaching job at D1, and I got all these veterans. So I'm a young rookie at D1, and I'm the young guy. And Coach Petrie, what I admire about him, he put me to work. He said, well, people said you got some kind of connections in the women's game. Use them. Let's go. We need this. We need that. I want better talent here. I think we can make this a perennial top 4 program and eventually a championship program here. And he was just coming off a 19-10 year upset in Alabama. So he was full force. So that was the challenge that I was hit with my first job.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you say you connected, let's do it. So he tested it. And fast forward, the rest of the year, it's just the recruiting piece. But just getting to know how everybody moved and how everybody maneuvered. I remember even when I first met you at Tallahassee, just the advice, I was just like a sponge. I wanted to soak up as much advice as I can. And that's what, a lot of, I guess, the difference I had to take. Because now coming to JSU, I have veterans, so I needed to be a sponge and not want to speak so much.
Mm-hmm.
And same with coaching. I had to learn those kids. I couldn't just come in and say, hey, I want to do it this way, because I was trying to learn his offense. I was trying to learn his defense, and that's a hell of a defensive coach, Rick Petrie is. I had to learn all these things, his tendencies, his terminology, his methodology, and be able to look like I know what I'm talking about when I talk to the kids. Because the first thing they're going to do is ask the young coach, what are you talking about? What are we doing? You go through this elaborate speech about everything, and the first thing they do is come over to me. All right, what are we supposed to do?
Yeah.
So that was, the learning curve was crazy. And I had to, as they say, be able to articulate it and fake it till you make it in some cases. Like, just observe it, watch it, and be like, oh, yeah, he said, left foot first into a right foot, turn your hip shot, things like that, just to, like, mimic everything he said. And then they look at me like, oh, okay, yeah. And I'm like, I just literally just said exactly what he said. But
right.
That was the first year bump. And then you kind of get your groove. Second year, third year go by, you kind of get your groove. You know what they expect. So then the next challenge after my second year, I knew what he expected. Now the next challenge was, with my ambition, is how do I help him be even better at his craft?
Mm-hmm.
What do I bring that's different? Because, okay, I've learned him now. 2 years with him, I've learned him. I know what he expects. I know who he is. Now, how could I improve him while improving myself? Because, just like any head coach, you can't come in here and tell him what to do. But as an assistant, we have to figure out those nooks and crannies to keep everything, we're the glue that keeps everything together. Because the head coach can't be involved with every little detail of what's going on in the program, but they have to be at least at bay. And that's our job. We're the behind the scenes person, making sure boom, 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 boom. I'm the CEO of his presidency. You know what I mean? So I got to be able to do all the little differences that to make the program great. So that was my next challenge. And by year 3 and year 4, it was like, okay, figuring out how to expand this program. We got a lot of great things going on at JSU. Okay, I'm in charge of just about everything with the budget almost. So it's like, okay, how can I improve this? How can I build myself because of my personal ambitions? And then it goes into now, okay, now we got to steamroll a little bit. Now it's like, okay, how do we become a championship program? And championship program is not, as you know, it's not just wins and losses. Right. Championship program mindset, it's a culture. It's the belief you are able to instill into not only the kids you're recruiting, but the kids that are on your program and that's coming back, and that was the next challenge. The next thing was like, okay, we top 4. We got it rolling. Everybody know when you play Jasmine State, it's going to be a gritty defensive battle. So my thing was, how can we improve this offense? Let me study different drills to get these kids better. Okay, it's shot selection. Okay, let's do this thing. So I started creating little terminology for them. Hey, we want 7, 8s, and 9s. And I'll go into that later, explaining that little philosophy I created. But, okay, we want to shoot 7, 8s, and 9s, and this and that, and just different things I could help in bridging the gap so the head coach is not far right and the girls are not far left. And we kind of bridge the gap to where they're speaking the same language, and now he's not on the sideline looking crazy like, yo, what's wrong with her? You go talk to her. Now it's like, okay, everybody has a common decency. And and then I don't have to be as hyper about it, because he could be the passionate coach he is. And I found my cranny to be, I mean, you know me, I could be very passionate, but that's not my role here because I don't want the kids having too many people on them. So my role is the calm, cool, collective coach who lets them know. And, for everybody who's with a head coach and the staff, you have to find that groove. And that's my groove here, the calm, cool, collective.
And be okay with that groove. And I think sometimes we're okay with it. I think sometimes the people you work with are not okay with it because they expect in their mind, you need to be this. And they're not really truly looking at it like, well, you're cycled that. So somebody needs to be, the calm. And so as a head coach, I was very passionate. I was into it. Like what I learned was my assistants were very passionate into it. So I had to learn to be like, okay, as a head coach, my assistants aren't seeming to adjust. So I need to adjust. So my last 2 years, people look at me like, man, you all right? You okay? I'm solid. Yeah, I'm cool. I'm like, I got these jokers over here. They in that tail. So I'm gonna be, hey, we're calm, we're cool, and but that's very important to understand that and realize that. Now, E, tell me about the 7, 6, 8s, and 9s you were talking about.
7, 8, and 9s, man. Okay,
7, 8, and 9s. Okay.
It's a beautiful thing. So in layman's terms, so anybody listening here, if you want to go through it, so 10s are a layup. 10s are a layup. So this is when I want to get on my kids about shot selection. So 10s is a layup anytime. I don't care if it's a contested layup or a made layup, but 10 is a layup. Because these are high percentage shots that we should be able to make because we practice with contact and all that.
Yep.
So 7, 8s, and 9s are, we always say we want to try to score. If we can score in 12 seconds or less, that's a great day. We don't have to call offense. This is why every coach in America is into that philosophy now. So the best way to say that instead of just not that shot, not that shot, 7, 8s, and 9s. So if a 10 is a layup, a 9 is an open shot. I don't care if it's off a kick out. I don't care if it's off a pull up. Whatever it is, a 9 is an open shot, which means there is no contest. It's a wide open shot. And a 9 is also a shot that you are confident you can make. That's a 9. Okay, 8s, this is where it gets a little dicey. This is where it becomes individualistic for each player. An 8 is a shot that you can make. You feel confident even when you miss it. You're going to shoot it 100 times. You'll shoot that same shot 100 times, and your confidence will never wane. Now, that's the trick in explaining that to your kids. This is a shot I don't care if you miss it all game. This game, this is a shot you work on, you practice, and it's going to be a late closeout, but you'll shoot this in the clutch. You're not going to hesitate or anything. That's an 8. It's a shot that you don't hesitate on. You trust in your ability to make it regardless if you're missing or making it, because if you're in a slump, I don't need you hesitating on this shot. So that's your 8. If your 8 is a 25-footer off the dribble, that's your 8. Now, they become high percentage shots if you're doing what you need to do skill development-wise. But that's an 8. Late contested, shots that you never feel like I can make this shot. Even if I missed, I just got to correct something because this is a shot I make. Now, 7. Now, 7s is where it becomes the argument. 7s are contested shots, hand down, man down type shots. 7s are shots that, yes, you feel you can make. I need to work on you as I continue to get you better from freshman to senior year for you to make. These are the tough ones. These are the shots that you shoot under 10 seconds, the high anxiety field type of shots. Those are 7s. Now, most of the time, your best players make 7s more than your average player. So that's where the 7s change. A 7 for one of my players that is not a high volume shooter maybe, and she's more of a role player, her 7 is a little different than my high volume scorer. Just because of percentages and the way they shoot and the way you train them. 7s has changed, but in the essence of a 7, that is a contested shot. But as a coach, you don't feel like that's a bad shot for your kid.
So I tell people, I would say the 8 is The Last Dance, Michael Jordan against Utah Jazz, Brian Russell in front. He raises up, hadn't been shooting all day very well, but pulls up and flick of the wrist, knocks that down.
That's 8. I'll take that shot in the first 12 seconds any day of the week. Driving right, seen Karl Malone dip in, seen Pippen wide open, but he knew Pippen's back was hurting. So he said, no, that's a 6 for Pippen. He ain't going to make it right now.
Right.
Crossed over, shot it. Boom, that's an 8. Because it ended up being an open shot at the end of the day, but he created that shot. He created that shot. The 8 is more of a created shot that, you really work on. That's his 8. The 7 would be more like Jordan hitting the shot on Elo.
Yes.
more of a 7.
7.
He can hit that shot. He hit it multiple times,
Mm-hmm.
but he don't shoot him much, you know. But that 7, if you wanted to go Jordan terms, that would be a shot on Elo. Where a 7 for LeBron, you know, might be a little different.
Yeah. Okay, it gives them a visual.
Yeah, and a 9 is John Paxson hitting against Phoenix Suns. That's a 9. He was wide open, baby. Wasn't nobody in his sight.
Yeah, he gonna hit that.
If he missed it, he felt he should have made it.
Yep. I like that. 7, it's 7, 8, and 9s.
7, 8s, and 9s, because 10s is layup, so they better make that.
Yeah.
So you know, you'll see me in the game laughing. So Coach Petrie like, oh my God, she's not making a shot. We all know how passionate she is. So instead of me looking at her while she's a little down, I'm like, oh, he about to take me out. She comes to the sideline. I'm like 7, 8s, and 9s. Or if they shoot a bad shot, 7, 8s, and 9s. Oh, I got you, Coach. I got you, Coach. I got you. So now we didn't even have to harp on it. It's not what it is.
Mm-hmm.
We keep it rolling. Or I'm like, hey, that's a 5. I need a 7 out of you.
Yeah.
I got you. My bad. That was you right.
Yeah. We need some damn 10s. I need some 10s. You need to turn the ball over and give me some 10s.
Hey, yeah. If we need some 10s, that's what we start saying at the end of the game. A minute and a half left. 10s.
Yeah.
Hey, 10. And we'll take a 9 if there's less on the shot clock. But we on 10s.
Yeah.
But you start talking to them like that. Now they can't argue with you. There's no argument made. Hey, I need 7, 8, 9. 7, 8 to 9. 7, 8 to 9. Hey, that's a 5. That's a 4. That's a 4.
Yeah.
Now they like, I got you, Coach. My bad. You know they love to do this. My bad.
Yeah. Everything my bad. Well, I like that, man. I might have to kind of steal that from you. Game, all this stealing. We talk about that, man. Tell me a little bit about what you've been doing during Corona. I pray that your family and everyone on your team and you guys, the circle is healthy and fine. But you have been doing some amazing things with Zoom. Talk about how that started and, you know, where that's gone, you know, because it's been very good for the game.
Yeah, you know, my thing was at the Final Four, we connect with a lot of people, and we just never do after that. You know, you get your circle that you connect with all the time. You know, people like you, I always reach out to at least once a month if it comes down to it. But everybody else, you got a lot of people on your phone. Every coach in America probably has 1,000 numbers in his phone and never uses them. And then talking to a lot of travel ball coaches, it was like, y'all ain't gonna see us in April and May, man. I'm only talking to you on the phone. You know, I talked to the other coaches, but we should, you know, what everybody else talking about right now? What do y'all think? And a lot of questions was getting formed. And I just decided, like, people on Zoom for all type of crazy stuff. I might as well get on Zoom and connect high school and college coaches and JUCO coaches and D1, D2, D3, and in a small setting, we could all kind of converse over certain topics that we're all thinking about. That, you know, we talk about with anybody on a daily anyway. And then it kind of evolved into let's do some X's and O's session in there and things of that nature. And that's kind of where it just came from. So I started reaching out to people on my phone, and people were just responsive. And then just like anything, you post it on social media, and then your DMs get crazy. So, you know, I just kept going with it, hitting people up on DM, hitting up my close circle. And my mission was to kind of connect people that didn't know. So I was more moderator in there, and it was like, I might know somebody, but maybe you don't know them. Well, I'm gonna make sure you're in a group together, because I don't want a whole group of people we all know together, because we all talk anyway. So I wanted it to be ideas, even if they're shared ideas from people you might not normally call or you might not text. And, you know, people really liked it, and a lot of people start connecting and inviting people to other Zooms, and then people start inviting me to theirs and inspire some other people to do different things. Like my sister JP over at Louisville, me and her and Coach Alicia Jackson from South Alabama started doing a weekly one where, you know, multiple people come on, and we switch it up and have some speakers come on from time to time, and or we just talking about topics and development, and it's kind of like a series. You know, we kind of did a series with it, and then I started my own off of that, where it's just, you know, what I was doing before with just inviting separate coaches and keeping up with what's going on and asking people for topics, you know. So I'm not the only one creating topics. I'm only creative to a certain point. And, you know, we just kept it going like that. And that's where that is now, man. We're just continuously doing that on the side, kind of like the side hustle, you know, outside of talking to kids and all that, man.
Yeah. And man, I commend you, because that's teaching and being a guide or a mentor is why I got into it. Well, it's one of the reasons why I'm in the business. I think I'm known more for talking to people and helping than I am probably for my basketball.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I think that's the part that is missing in our game is some of us older coaches that have had success and that have experienced like I didn't have someone to help me go through this like my process and my story is so much different than a lot of coaches. Like I mean, there's coaches now that are coming out, and you're not one of them because but there are coaches coming out now that they get through playing, they get a GA spot, which is really at a nice school. Um, then they're a GA for a year, 2 years, and then now they're an associate head coach
Right.
or the recruiting coordinator, or that and it's like, okay, so what do you bring other than you have, the just kind of the pedigree, you know? Or like Stan said earlier today in the interview, he goes, it's not so much who you know, it's who knows you,
Yes.
And so at the end of the day, like the game has to grow and we have to have some form of guidance, some people guiding the younger coaches to be, really good head coaches. Because we got a lot of, and I hate to say it, and we got a lot of bad assistant coaches that are becoming head coaches that think they know it and are killing the game, are absolutely killing the game. And then that's my point of view of the years that I've been in, and I'm going into my 22nd year in women's basketball,
You're
coaching
looking
off.
like a
Yeah,
rookie out there, man. You're looking good.
man, I appreciate it. Holding on. My face is holding on, holding on. So, man, with that, what is some of the things or your thoughts with the collective group of people that you talked about? Where do you see the game going in 5 years? Where's the game going in 5 to 10 years? Now with the pandemic, like, where's the game going?
I guess I'll start with the pandemic. I think with the pandemic, the most important thing is going to be patience. For this immediate future right now, just because your dogs are going to continue to work hard. That's what they do. It's going to be that number 7, 8, and 9 person that you got to find a way to keep influenced when you have limited access to what they are going to do.
Mm-hmm.
I learned from on a couple NBA pods, listening to different people on different Zooms and stuff like that. A couple NBA guys was saying, and college coaches were saying, it's 3 type of players. You got players who like it, you got players who love it, and you got players who live it. And naturally in the women's game, well, in basketball in general, not just the women's game, in basketball in general, the further you go down in your depth chart, the further you have like it's.
Mm-hmm.
And the like it's, and it's nothing against those kids. It's just it is what it is. That's all the way up to the NBA. You go to the NBA and they might have loved it at one point, but they became like it type of guys.
Mm-hmm.
That's what separates the good from the great and the average. And it's keeping those like it's engaged enough to be in some type of shape. Because my biggest fear is injuries
Mm-hmm.
for next, because they're not getting the same training to their bodies that they've had continuously throughout the year. And if we are able to have the season, which we do all hope, I mean, selfishly, we all hope we still have a season next year and everything jumps up. I know they're all scared about what might happen in December if the next phase of this virus hits again. But, through what they're trying to do, if the season hits again, man, I'm more worried about injuries because of their bodies being trained. I feel like once we get into our groove, the girls that get the skill level back, it might not be at the highest point of where maybe they left off and what we expected when they left us, but it'll be somewhere in that ballpark because they'll get back to work and they work hard. Kids want to please us.
Mm-hmm.
They naturally want to please. This is how we relate to them, how we make our adjustments to reach them, but they want to please us. I mean, these kids are people pleasers because they've been told what to do their entire life. They got trainers at the age of 8 now. So they want to please you. They in their own way, and you just got to find that way to connect to them. So
Now,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I'm sorry.
No,
No, go
no.
ahead.
I wanted to say they're pleasers, but at the same time, do you think what you're saying? Do you think it hurts the women's game? Will it diminish the women's game just a little bit? Because like that's what I worry about because of the injuries and the lack of skill. That's what I worry about because we
Yeah, I
struggle
think
with
it
that.
only hurts our game I think it only hurts our game if because of the lack of repetition right now. But I
Yeah.
think as the season goes on, we'll get back up to par. I think it'll be ugly early,
Mhm.
depending on how we're able to keep them going because it's still summer. Yeah, and like most of us, like my kid's been gone since like March 9th. And
Mhm.
I know some of my kids not doing much.
Yeah.
That means when we're able to get them back in July, for us, like for our summer school, some summer schools go all the way to August. Ours, we're going to have them for 3 weeks. They're not going to get in supreme shape in 3 weeks for what we're going to expect them to be able to accomplish once August hits.
Mhm.
And then in those 40 days of practice between September 25th and November 5th or 7th or whenever your first game is, those we call it the 40 practices, it's going to be hell because you're going to be trying to go backwards to go forward. So I think early it'll be ugly. I think once they get their groove and we get closer to conference, the mid-major conference is most important. I think that's when you kind of start seeing the best ball. But early on is where you got to fight through the injuries because their bodies have literally had 3 months of uh, losses, 3 months of losses.
So let me ask you this: is there any way do you think or hearing that the NCAA might take the 40 days and say, hey, when they get back to school, they get on campus, you know, you do your hours, but let's get them more time to prepare and be healthy, like get them ready to compete. Like, is there any talks that you're hearing? Because I know I'm out of the loop in those kind of talks, but like I would love to see them not even talk about 40 days for this year. Just get back in shape so that, we have a season, we are doing justice to the kids.
Yeah, not yet. More people are worried about football right now. That's just to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Football is the main topic because right now the season is so far away that we're still trying to navigate right now. Because I mean, for instance, like we'll get our 3 weeks in the summer, but it's some schools I know don't even do much in the summer, so it won't really affect until like our kids will get back August 18th.
I got you.
So August 20th will be the first workouts, and we'll go through those. And if we're able to go through our process, it'll be tinkered a little bit because we missed a lot of summer, but we don't have many newcomers, so we should be fine. But if we go through our process, by the time September 25th hits, we won't be where we expect it, but I think we'll be somewhere in the ballpark. And that's all you want, somewhere in the ballpark. And if we're somewhere in the ballpark of their conditioning, conditioning and health wise, if we're somewhere in the ballpark, then the next 40 days of practice will be fine. We might have to add more conditioning in the practice than maybe we wanted to, or maybe give the strength and conditioning coach a little bit more instead of an hour, maybe an hour and a half, and we diminish practice by 30 minutes or something like that to kind of bridge the gap. But like I said, it's going to be more for that outside of injuries, because injuries can happen to anybody. The conditioning and the getting your body adjusted part is going to be more for the depth of your team, not necessarily your top part. Because your top part, they're still going. I got some of my kids going to play every damn day. They finding little things to do. I don't even know if they, are being as cautious as they should with the virus when it comes to the groups they've been a part of playing. But they're still getting in. They're back with their high school trainers, back with their high school coaches, or other college girls doing open runs. So some of my girls that's either coming in, JUCO kids or whatnot, they're getting some rec, and they'll be fine. But like you said, when we're able to control it, the injuries, that's a whole nother argument. But just in the conditioning part and everything else, I think it affects the depth. And as you know, the depth is what makes or break your team.
Yep.
And those are the ones I'm more worried about than the top. Your top four that work out every day, they in the gym all the time, they're going to do that. Regardless of your top four players, your top four dogs, by the demeanor they bring it, the ones who live the game, they're going to be fine as long as they stay healthy when it comes to injuries.
Yeah.
It's, 7, 8, 9, 10, depending on your depth chart. Those are the ones that kind of like it, maybe love it, but kind of like it. Those are the ones I'm more worried about when it comes to the process of the game and what it looks like, and the value of it and how it is perceived to the viewing public of, oh man, women's basketball is terrible now. Those later parts would be more what it is, because they hold the game together before your top dogs take it over in the late part.
Right, right. Uh, man, it has been a pleasure, but I got two questions for you, brother.
Gotcha.
Two questions for you. So when we sum up all this, and you have done a lot, and you've been very successful, um, and they write a book about it, what would the title of that book be?
Dauntless.
Dauntless. Okay.
Be dauntless, man. My journey. I know we only went into it a little bit, but people who know me know. I had no gatekeeper to let me into this business.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying I did it by myself. I would never say that. It's been people that helped me along the way, and I'm always gonna shout them out. But the people who also helped me didn't know me before the business started.
Mm-hmm.
I was that guy who was sending when I wanted to be. I was an accountant. And when I wanted to be a GA, and I should have maybe talked about this earlier in the story, but when I got out of college, I was an accountant, and got into training some kids and started my nonprofit organization with my friend, and got to coaching youth and everything. But I was sending out letters to all these coaches, men and women coaches. I was sending out letters about GA spots, Dobo spots, letting them know my budget and things, telling them I'm part of $1 million initiative with the thing called this and this and that, just like going on about myself. And a lot of people never responded, and that's fine. Some did, and I talked to some of them to this day, and some answered the phone. I would follow up with a phone call to make sure my mail, and I'm sending out mail like crazy, stamps, and then stamps, man, stamps like crazy. And it was back when I was typing and writing. Sometimes I'll be writing letters, and then because everybody said handwritten letters, and sometimes I was like, man, I ain't writing all this out. And I'm typing them out and sending them all over the country, man, from the West Coast all the way around. NAIA, every level. I didn't care. I felt like I wanted to get in this game. And like I said, Coach Newbuyer was the first one to respond and give me a chance.
Mm-hmm.
And those assistants led me to Jason, who was a men's coach at first. We got a women's job at Jacksonville State. Was here for a year, then went back to Belmont Abbey, where he was a men's coach for 9 years as the head women's coach. He had no idea. He didn't really have that many women's connections. He only in the women's game for 1 year prior to that. And some of my men's coaches is who led me to him. And then he ultimately helped me get this job. Mm-hmm. So, but I didn't know none of them guys outside of like writing letters, calling people, and just like letting my heart out. Like, funny story, I'll tell this real quick. So Belmont Abbey, I met Jason through some men at a men's Final Four like years previous. He didn't even remember me though. That's the funny part. I personally called when I was Coach Newbuyer was going to let me be assistant Dobo to keep me on after I got my master's at Eastern Kentucky. But I really wanted to be a coach. Like, I was like, man, I'm tired of this clerical stuff. Let me be a coach. I want to be a coach. And Coach Streggy, who's now at Moberly area as a men's JUCO head, he was like, well, I got my boy Jason. He just got the head coaching job. Remember him? I'm like, yeah, I remember him. But I called Coach Yao because I knew she was at Belmont Abbey. And she had told me, oh, I just left Belmont Abbey, but it's a guy named Jason that started to take the job. She's over at Queens.
Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to get on with her at Queens. Like, I'm calling her. She like, yeah, I don't got nothing for you. I don't really know you, but you call Belmont Abbey. They might be doing something. I just left there. So I called Jason, and then he answered this time after Straggy gave me his number. He answered, and yeah, Luke gave me a call, and then we talked. And I literally drove. He said, well, you got free time to talk. Like, I would love to talk to you in person, man. I'm a real personable person. I got in my car from Richmond, Kentucky, and drove to Charlotte, Carolina, because I met him in Charlotte, North Carolina, like the next, 2 days later. Like, literally just hopped in with the money I had saved up and hopped in, went out there, got a hotel, interview with him. We talked for like 2-3 hours with no promise or nothing. Went back to Richmond, Kentucky, paid my rent and all that, and then he was able to offer me the gig, and it was a part-time gig. Mm-hmm. I worked 3 jobs when I was at Belmont Abbey. That's why I say dauntless, man. I worked 3 jobs. I worked at night. I taught at a junior college because I had my master's, and then I coached. Mm-hmm. So, like, I tell people, like, sacrifice is crazy, but it was dauntless, man. Dauntless is why my book will be there, because all the nooks and crannies, I'll be talking to you for a whole day about everything I've been doing to make sure I could stay into this business and never give up. But the essence of the word dauntless is definitely my journey through.
Man, and I'm glad you shared that. Like, I'm glad you shared that, because we talk, and our stories are somewhat similar, but I think people need to hear that. Like, there's so many easy entrances in for a lot of other people, and like I literally had to pick lock the door to get in, and then They shut in. I had to stick my foot in, and I had to get my head in, and then I got my arm in, and I told them, I said, once I get in this thing, I promise you, like, you gonna remember me. Like, remember the Titans. You gonna remember me. And so,
Yeah.
like, I want you to keep having that feeling, because it's contagious, and you inspire other people. And I really appreciate what you're doing. So, best-selling book, Dauntless, and hopefully, I'm co-authoring and helping people tell their stories. Maybe one day we can connect and we can write that book.
Yeah, let me get a championship if people want to buy it, man. Let me be like you, get a championship.
But now that we get this book and it's a bestseller, brother, Netflix, Hulu want to buy it. Who was playing you in the movie?
Oh man, that is a great question. I'm dark skinned, so it gotta be a dark skinned brother. And he gotta look good. He gotta have a lot of swag. So just off my lack of knowledge of a lot of these young actors right now, the one I'm probably most fond of right now is the dude from All American, just because he's yep. They call him Spencer James. I can't remember his real name.
Yeah, but, I just know him as Spencer James too.
Yeah, right, Spencer James. Just because it's fresh in my mind, it might be some people I'm slipping on. But today, if you ask me tomorrow, I might say somebody else. But right now, today, if they just said, dropped it on me, hey, who playing you? I'd probably say him, man. Young, fashionable little guy.
Okay.
Got a nice swag. And, I know he a Brit and everything, but hey, he was able to talk like he from the West Coast. So I'm sure he could figure out this Midwest language pretty quick.
Oh yeah. And funny thing is, my uncle was in the movie. His grandfather, Brent Jennings.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. So, but man, E, appreciate you, man, so much. Love your heart, love your passion, love your purpose. You keep doing it, man. Don't let anyone take you off that path. Don't let anyone take you off that purpose and that mission. Be safe out there, brother, and appreciate you being here. And for all those that tuned in, until next time, Full Court Press and Transition with Coach Q. We thank you, E. Love you, brother.
You too, man. Appreciate you, man. Anything you need, I got you.
Yes, sir.